Thank you. And I really appreciate this process, because the art of putting ideas out there is like, that's a skill that we have to work towards developing. So it's okay if we're kind of like, oh, I don't know exactly how to word this. But it's just getting them, getting that core idea out there is the point. Okay, so now for the us level, and the us is, I mean, kind of a more would be kind of a more systems level. So within our, the communities that we live in, or the systems that we're a part of. So it's more not necessarily it's not could I or could we in our small little group that I'm directly connected with, but could they or could someone, could someone out there in the universe do something. And so my thought about actions at the us level is in regard to the education system. So could someone create a easily accessible and, like readily accessible and easily usable training program for educators and families and students to learn the skills, communication skills and cultural humility that is comprehensive and not just a one-off. So kind of the challenge that I'm thinking about responding to is like, there's a little bit like little drops everywhere, but is there a way that we could bring it all together? Someone could bring it all together into like a comprehensive package of like, follow this lesson plan or unit plan. So yeah, that's mine. And then I'll pass to Alex.
Could someone, in this case, it would be, in this case, it's less could someone and more could most people, almost everyone. Well, no, that just ties back in with what you were saying, because I was going to ask if everyone could just implement those skills. Let's see, to be different, cultural humility, someone. Oh, could someone create some sort of institution that holds people accountable for resolving problems and particularly conflicts effectively? By which I mean, most institutions sustain their existence on pushing a particular agenda without regard for any side effects. And I think the theory in democracy and capitalism and any sort of system that claims to be meritocratic, the theory is that if you have a bunch of entities all pulling in the direction that they want to go in, that we'll get to where we need to go, except when it just tears itself apart. So could someone create institutions? Could someone create institutions in various contexts that bring together the people who lend those other institutions power and get them to agree on some sort of course of action that's better than what either of them thought of? so that institutions won't feel pressured to do things that are ultimately oppressive. I'm not entirely sure what that would look like, but I imagine it would be applying cultural literacy to social issues just proactively. That's about as concrete as I have it right now, so I'll stop there and pass to Carly.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, actually, as you were talking, I was thinking about, it goes like right along the lines with what you were thinking, and it was, how could someone or they, right, in each of the state government entities, getting a bit more specific here, create just what you were saying, like, well, at least what I was kind of like gathering and picking up from, because I was trying to think and listen at the same time and it was hard. But could someone or they in each state at the government level produce some product that is distributed to the communities, or maybe even not necessarily the government, but I would like it to be the government, but shared values, or shared values around this culturally humble piece, like or could every state government even have cultural humility as a goal of action, like and so basically, which I mean, like, I am like not familiar with government at all. So I mean, I know that New Mexico recently, or maybe they already had it, has a culture / diversity / group that's getting together and basically, and taking action. It's assumed that that's, I don't know the details. I could read more into that for sure, but yeah. So and I'm specifically thinking about government in particular because they make the rules, right? A lot of the rules. And I mean, that's the governing body, the power. I'm just trying to think of like, people in power, and how can, what I'm thinking of, could we influence the people in power in every state to embrace and adapt this idea of reaching cultural humility, figuring out what that looks like, and taking some action.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so then I want to do one more round, and this could be anything that you kind of, that was, it could be an action at any level, either one that came up for you not related to anything that anybody said or in relation to what other people said. So in kind of listening to your all's actions and kind of thinking through kind of the rationale or why, who might be doing something or why they might be doing something, I got to thinking about there's a lot of institutions that didn't previously have diversity, equity, inclusion groups or task force within their organizations, or they did, but they weren't necessarily doing anything. And so my thought is that, could we provide, or could we create and provide tools to various diversity, equity, inclusion groups that assist in like aligning our efforts and, making sure that like we're having similar types of conversations. And then kind of piggybacking on that would be that idea of, could we provide tools that help entities or like groups within organizations ensure that what they're doing is socially valid and transformative and not just performative action. That's been a big issue that has come up with some of the, these statements that people are putting out or these groups that they're putting together, is that it's, the actions that they're taking are largely performative. So could we develop some tools or guidelines to help people, frame those conversations and then also self-evaluate the impact of their actions? And I'll pass to Alex.
Let's see. Trying to think what level I haven't thought of yet. Is this long-term, short-term? Yes, it sounds like long-term. All right, let's see.
Hi there.
Okay. I think I need to walk around for this one. How about we skip me for now, and then I can pass to Carly, and you can circle back afterwards.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to say, actually. I've been, can you repeat the question, Abby?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like,
that was supposed to buy me time.
No, what I was just wanting to take another round if there were any like any additional potential action items that came up for you, like while we were talking. So, and it could be at any level in any time frame, just opening up another opportunity for suggestions. Okay,
great. Thank you. I mean, yeah, so okay, thinking about the tools, I really, really like this idea of the tools and guidelines and tools/guidelines/framework, or all of the above, for evaluating impact of action. Or yeah, evaluating impact of action / performative, whatever you said, whatever that phrase was. And because I think that is where we as a society fall short on with many of our systems. And I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. I know that, like, you know, I know a lot of our systems have evaluation tools, but maybe, but I think what I'm seeing, just based on, you know, my little brain and what I've been exposed to, is that we might have some robust evaluation systems at a certain level, or maybe or maybe one team has a robust evaluation process, and other microsystems and macrosystems, if that's even a thing, may not have it at all. Or, you know, may have something, but it's just, you know, just not enough to really get the information that needs to be gotten. And so, yeah, actually, that's all the comments that I have right now. Passing it back to Alex.
Thanks, Carly. Let's see. Yeah, we will need to have people actually watching out for those things. I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, that actually. So I did think of something else, but I'd like to build on what you just said, because that kind of flips the perspective a bit, where before we were talking about sort of institutionalizing, helping people learn what I would call observation mindset, peeling back their assumptions. But with that, let's see. What you described sounds more like giving observation to the institutions themselves, like as an organization, actually going out and looking for not just the things that they expect, but also the things that they don't expect. Looking for the unknown unknowns, which is, by the nature of institutions, that's not something that they do very often. But it makes it all the more important. Let's see. Need to write that down. Let's see. Having institutions look for what they don't know is there. Something like that. And what I had come up with just now was helping people connect to the to people and suffering that they may
Alex might be having some technical
of insecurity. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you were broken out for that whole entire thing that you were just saying. So could you repeat
okay,
that?
Sorry. Yes. Let's see. Did you get the part with the institutions looking for things that they don't know is there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. So the thing that I was thinking of was helping people connect to other people who are in situations of oppression and or suffering in ways that activate the people who are connecting rather than deactivate them. And what I mean by that is when we encounter, I speak from experience, not necessarily in this context, but in other contexts. When we encounter somebody who is struggling in some way, depending on how secure we feel about our ability to help, we can shut it out or for some people may even form some sort of self-defense story where they would think, oh, this person deserves their suffering, and therefore, in order to preserve this story, I must then pile more suffering upon them. I must give them more of what they deserve, and that makes me a good person. So that sort of not even prejudice against a group so much as a prejudice against anyone with a disadvantage, anyone who's already marginalized in some way. We need to dissolve that. We need to get people to learn about oppression in a way where they feel hope and empowered to do something, so that it's not just, oh, today I learned I'm a bad person, I don't know how to apply this new knowledge. Because that's probably something that is happening that's causing people to just not get involved or push back. So we'll need to deconstruct that narrative and replace it with something else. Does that make sense? Thanks. And I'll pass it back.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense, Alex. I think that there's, I don't know that I could put the exact right behavioral term on it, but essentially I feel like when you're getting presented with something like a story of oppression, there's almost this it's that defensive reaction where, it's like, well, I don't know, that's your problem, I don't know what to do about it. And as opposed to that, connection, empathy, and empowerment. And so I think that's a really important thing for us to consider is, when we are presenting people with information, is it done in a way that uplifts and inspires and empowers? And what does that actually look like? It's one thing to say that, and it's another thing to, to actually have that impact that matches our intention. So yeah, I think that was a really valuable insight there, for sure. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this gathering. I think over the past two gatherings, these middle ones, the gatherings 2 and 3, this is where a lot of the, the ideas are generated. And now over the coming week, we can take the things that we said, that we heard from ourselves, and take the things that we heard from others and allow that to percolate. And during our final gathering next week, we will be putting all of these thoughts and ideas into a format that kind of looks at like, okay, what has actually risen to the surface? What has come of this, what has come up for us and solidified in terms of things that we could, guidance that we can give to ourselves, guidance that we can, provide to our communities, and then, suggestions for action that we could put out into the world. And there are so many people doing so many things across the world that, some of this work is going to involve identifying those groups, identifying those people, and working to bring it all into one place. So we're less siloed in our action, less siloed in our conversations, and more impactful on the, national and global scale. So invitations to you all, invitations for gifts of gratitude, invitations to share our mission, invite other people from your crew, and share the podcast if you will. That would be really helpful to get that out into the wider world. And with that, we will sign off for the day, and we look forward to seeing you back next week, where we will talk about specifically what actions we're going to take and put those into a more clear plan. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you next.